Hi everyone, I'm Rahul. Welcome back. So today we are going to discuss some of the common questions that people face while pursuing masters. So as we know that people were not able to apply for the masters for the last couple of years due to the COVID situation. So now things are coming back to normal. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to make a video on that and get some common questions clarified. So for that, we have today with us Vamshi. So he's a friend and former colleague at Samsung. So Vamshi, welcome. Uh,
Hi, hi guys.
yeah, hi. So before we start with the question, so can you just give a brief intro about yourself?
Yeah. Hello everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm Vamshi. I have done my undergrad from NIT Warangal and I've passed out in 2018. After that, I've joined Samsung as a full-time developer, software developer. I've worked there for 3 years, and after that, I've come to the United States for my master's. I'm currently pursuing my master's in computer science at North Carolina State University. I am looking forward to answering some of the common questions that we have.
Okay, all right, all right. So coming to the questions, Vamshi. So like the first question that like this is my personal question as well. Like, what are the reasons that one should basically have while pursuing masters? Because I have seen a lot of students going pursuing masters only for the sole reason that they want to settle in US permanently. Because like after doing their BTech degree, it's very difficult to directly get a job in US. So, like, what factors one should basically have before thinking of pursuing higher studies? Is settling in the US should can be the sole reason for that, or like, what were the factors in your case as well?
Okay, let us first discuss. I'll tell you the in general perception people have when it comes to
Hmm.
masters in United States. And we all know it's a hype that we have that there's a lot of money in the United States. There are really good universities there. There are a lot of people who do a lot of good research over there with nice companies over here. So there are different reasons for different people. So some of them have their family in the United States, so they don't have to really work towards making a choice. They already have a path set. So
Yes.
after their BTech, or maybe after a year of working, they know that they'll go to the States to pursue their masters. So it's pretty simple for them. But for people who have done their undergrad and who have no idea what happens over there, but still want to do a master's, they have to put in a lot of effort to understand what exactly happens over there,
Yeah.
how to apply and what to do, and what universities should you consider.
Correct.
In my case, I really wanted to pursue a master so that I'll understand more about the field that I'm
Okay.
currently working in. During my undergrad, I understood that there's a lot of potential in whatever that I'm doing. I've done my undergrad in computer science, so everything looked fascinating for me in the 4 years that I've done.
Yeah.
But like we all know, it's just the basics. It's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot that beneath that which we need to learn, which we need to explore and try it ourselves. And
Yeah.
which belief had become stronger when I started working at Samsung with all you guys.
Correct.
The exposure that people who have done their masters is way higher than what I have, and thought process that they have is different because they do projects which are at a different scale than we do in undergrad. When you work on such huge scale and with a lot of people, you understand that okay, this is how you
Hmm.
approach a problem.
Okay.
This is how you work with people together. So in my case, that was the reason for me to pursue masters in United States, and I had a plan from undergrad itself.
Hmm.
So that's how I sorted it out and applied for the universities here.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, so suppose like if someone has made up his mind that he's going to pursue masters and he has given the respective exams as well. So I suppose GRE and the TOEFL are the exams one has to give, right?
Yeah.
So after getting their respective scores, like which universities one needs to apply? Like based on my score, how do I, identify that these are the universities I will definitely get admission in? Right? So how do I segregate those universities? Which all universities should I apply to? So what are those factors which needs to be considered before applying?
Before selecting a university, there are a lot of factors that weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
One important factor is our undergrad performance, undergrad profile. What is the GPA that we have? What are the projects that we have worked on? And what are the courses that we have taken in undergrad? All these factors actually weigh in a lot. And then there also comes our SOP and LOR, how effectively have we presented ourselves in the SOP, and how good was the letter of recommendation from the professor or the higher official from your team or your working place
Okay.
have given you. So all these factors come into the picture, and there are a couple of exams as well. One is GRE, and then we have either TOEFL or IELTS.
Okay.
So either one of these is basically test the way test your English speaking as well as writing capabilities. So you can attempt any one of these. But right now, because of COVID and things have become virtual, there are universities which have waived off the requirement for GRE and TOEFL. So it depends from university to university. So I'd recommend you to first check whether the university has waived it off or not, and then select the universities. So once we have our profile and everything sorted out, we look at the universities, and then there are three categories into which we divide our interested universities into. So one thing is the easy section, where based on the profile and based on previous admits and what the university puts in their website, we can see that we get into the university. And then there comes the moderate section, where we're not sure if we get an admit into it or not, but we really want our admit into those universities.
Okay.
And then comes the ambitious section. Those are like you have no idea literally, because that depends on a lot of factors, and especially on your SOP, and you have no idea. Sometimes you might, or sometimes you might not. Sometimes GPA, even people with this GPA got into those universities. So it's definitely subjective. So those are the universities which are highly ambitious and you want to get into, but you have no idea.
Okay.
So usually people go for 9 to 10 universities. They apply 3 to 4 easy, 3 to 4 medium, and either 2 or 3 ambitious universities. In my case, I've actually taken a safe route. I don't know why I've done that. In my situation, I've applied 4 easy,
Okay.
2 moderate, and 2 ambitious. And I've got into my ambitious university at that point. But because of COVID, I had to defer my admission, and things went into a different path. But yeah, that's how it was in my case.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned like LORs and SOPs. So I guess that's also an important point of discussion. So like if someone is in their final year of graduation, so I guess like he has to get the LOR from his or her professors, or if someone is doing a job, so he can get it from his previous managers as well, right? So in your case, like how did you arrange your LORs, and what is the strategy you used for writing your SOPs? So is there any place from where you get some, hints, or you need to connect with some of your seniors for the format that has to be used to write the SOPs? So like what was the process of LORs and SOPs?
So the usually universities either require you to submit or get either 2 or 3 letter of recommendations. So that depends on the university again. And the way you divide or get the LORs depends on what you're currently doing. So if you are a recent graduate from your undergrad university, then you have spent 4 hours with your professors. So in that case, I would recommend you to take all the 3 from your professors.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you are a working professional who have to work for 2 to 3 years, then even your work experience is significant. So in that case, it's better we take either one LOR from our manager or the person in the team, and then the other 2 from the academics or from the university.
Okay.
So it depends on the individual again. So there are people who have worked like 4 or 5 years and then thought of doing their masters. In that case, taking more LORs from your manager is more important than your professor, because you have practical knowledge and practical experience into the industry, and these guys have worked with you for 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
So based on your current situation, you can divide that into different ways. And for instance, and there are cases where people apply 10 to 12 universities just to be on the safe side, just to get into at least one of the universities that they want. So in that case, instead of putting in a lot of pressure on 1 or 2 professors or individuals, you can divide it up into saying you give 6 colleges to 3 people, and then another 3 or 4 to the 2, 3, and 4 individuals, and then you basically divide your set of individuals into different ways, and then ask them to give you LORs. It's just a different strategy, but yeah, depends on the person.
Got it. And suppose for the final year student, so like if I have done internships in my second and third year of college, So suppose the maximum period of internship can be, I guess, 6 months. So like, does that 6 months period, like under which I worked, like the manager or the mentor, so like, does that also count, or like the 6 period month time duration is not good enough to get a LOR from that person?
That I would see if the project that we worked on in the 6 months is significant. You have learned a lot. You have done a really good job, and your manager is perfectly impressed with your work. Then for sure, because that person would give a really good recommendation for you, saying explaining the way you have worked out.
Mhm.
Because doing a 6 months internship in a corporate environment is not a simple thing. So
Correct.
if the project you worked on is really good and that adds a good weightage to your profile, then definitely I would say you can explore that option as well.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay, so apart from the preparation part, like coming to the other topics, which are, I guess, equally important, like the process of applying to the visa, right? So, at what point of the year, like a person has to apply to the visa, and uh, how do we get the visa slots? And I guess there is some visa interview as well before, when you apply
Hmm.
there. So, like, is there any
Yeah.
separate preparation that needs to be done so that you don't get rejected at the final stages, right? So, how to go about these things?
So usually there are two intakes in which the universities take in students.
Okay.
One is a fall intake, the other is a spring intake. Fall is when you start your semester in August, and spring is when you do it in Jan.
Okay.
So usually most of the students from India prefer August because they can do an internship in summer if they go in August. There's a
Mm-hmm.
thing called CPT,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a rule saying that in order for you to work in the States as an internship with the company for 40 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be at least 9 months in the in the United States.
Okay.
So if you go in Jan, by the time you get to summer, you spend just 4 months.
Correct.
So as per that rule, you can't do an internship.
Okay.
So internship is a good way to get a full time job. You can easily get converted into a full time job
Yeah. PPO
because the
and things.
process
Yeah.
would be about a lot simpler. So that's why a lot of students prefer fall intake rather than spring. So if
Okay.
we consider fall intake,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be in August. So you most probably people would finish their applications by Jan, if not Feb,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get their admits by March. So
Okay.
as soon as they get their admits, they need to sort out their finances first. Finances basically, by finances, what I mean is how are you going to spend? How are
Mm-hmm.
you going to sponsor your education in the United States?
Yeah.
Because without that sorted out, you can't get a visa.
Okay.
So visa, when you go for a visa appointment, you're basically asked just a couple of things. One thing is where is the admit letter from the university?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is how are you going to sponsor your education? These are the most important things.
Okay.
There are few questions here and there, but these are the most important questions. If you have them sorted out, the others are basically unless you screw up really bad, you're good to go.
Okay.
So I would recommend applying visa maybe by March or April because there are only 5 cities in the country where you can apply for a visa appointment. There are only 5 cities where you have an embassy. So, and you have thousands of students willing to go for masters, and not just for masters. There are H1 people, there are business
Correct.
visa
Yeah.
people, there are who are visiting just for trip or something. So, it's very difficult for you to get a visa appointment.
Yeah.
So the earlier you do, the better it is for you.
Okay.
So maybe if you get an admit by Feb, I would say maybe take a loan or get your finances sorted out by March or something and start looking for appointments. So as
Okay.
soon as you get an appointment, I would recommend maybe April or May so that you can get a couple of months for you to sort everything up, wrap everything up, and then fly for your masters.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned that finances thing. Like, I guess most of the people are not that financially sound to, completely
Uh-huh.
fund their master's expenses, right? So if I'm a guy, I guess you also might have taken a loan for your education.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So like, how do we apply for the loan? Like, and how much time does it take for the whole approval thing?
So there are two financial institutions in our country where you can take a loan from.
Mm-hmm.
One is the private banks, and the other one is a public bank. So public bank basically are state banks which are funded by the government, And then we have private banks, which are completely owned by private institutions. So public banks, since they involve the government, there's a lot of scrutiny over all the documents. They need a lot of documents, and then they take a lot of time
Okay.
to approve a loan. But the interest rate is really less.
Okay.
On the other hand, the private institutions, they offer you loans. They offer you very quickly, but the interest rate is really high.
Really high.
That's one point.
Mhm.
And then comes the other point where usually most of the state banks require you to submit a collateral, which is like a kind of a proof which you submit and then take a loan. Not a proof, legal document
Okay.
which you submit. Usually people go for land or house or something,
Correct.
which they give it as a collateral and then take a loan. So state banks definitely need that.
Mm. Okay.
Without that, it's really difficult to get a loan approved from a state bank.
Okay.
On the other hand, private banks do give you loan without a collateral, but the interest rate is going to be
Interest
too
rate
high,
is high.
and
Okay.
there's a limit as well.
Okay.
There's a limit as well. Usually I think when I was applying, I think in 2020, without a collateral, the maximum that they could give you was 40 lakhs without a collateral, the private bank.
Mm.
And the interest rate was as high as 12%.
Oh. Okay.
On the other hand, if I give a collateral, the loan which I could take depends on my I-20, and I could extend it to whatever thing I can based on the discussion that I have with the bank, and then the interest rate is going to be maybe 10 or 10.5, maybe 11. So if you have a collateral, it's easy to get a higher loan in the case of private banks, but it's definitely required in case of state banks, and you get a really low interest rate.
Okay.
It's going to be, I think, in my case, now I've taken a loan from State Bank of India, and the interest rate for me is really less. It's 9.3.
Okay.
I don't know what it's now right now. I'm not quoting on the interest rate currently. You need to check with your bank branch there, and it's different for women as well. There's some quota for women where the interest rate is, I think, 0.5 or 0.75 less. So that's one benefit as well. You can explore that part as well if you're looking for a loan from a state bank.
Okay. Okay.
So the important thing here is state banks take a lot of time,
Yeah.
and the private banks do it very quickly.
So someone is, if suppose someone is short of time, then he should definitely go for the private banks.
I wouldn't recommend him to go for a state bank because they need a lot of documents.
Okay.
And when I say a lot, believe me, a lot.
Okay.
So I've got my admit in February, and I started my loan process as soon as I got an admit. But it still took me almost 1.5 months, or I think 50 days for me to get a loan sanction from State Bank of India.
Oh.
Everything was ready. I had everything in place. I had all the documents. I had a collateral. I had all the signatures that I needed. But still, it took some time because they go through each and every document word by word.
Okay.
So if you're going for a state bank, I would say give it at least 2 months, just to be on the safe side. If you know someone in the bank, you might get it done in 30 days or something. But just to be safe, give it 2 months. And then after, so if you got to admit in Feb, give the bank 2 months to approve for the loan, and then have your visa appointment booked in April. Book the April slot in February itself.
Okay.
Because once you get closer to the date, there's going to be really less chances for you to get a visa appointment.
Okay.
So you need to plan things accordingly. You need to give yourself a buffer time so that in case even something messes up, you have some time.
Correct.
So, for instance, if you have given yourself just 20 days for a loan and applied and got a visa appointment, if the loan is not sanctioned, you're going to miss your interview because you can't go to the interview visa appointment without your finances sorted out.
Correct.
So
Okay, got it. So as we are talking about the finances part, like I guess this what is the overall expenditure that a person has to spend in the span of 2 years? I guess this would be university dependent a lot, but like on an average cases, what is the expenditure one can expect, and what was that in your case as well?
So even here, like I was saying, we have two types of universities: public and private. So private universities cost you a bit more than what public universities do. And in my case, I've gone to a public university, NC State.
Okay.
So it's comparatively a bit cheaper than the universities, but it still depends on the branch that you're pursuing, the specialization. I'm doing my master's in computer science, so it's different from the money that you're going to spend when it comes to civil engineering or industrial engineering. So it's branch dependent. and then university dependent. So it's going to be subjective.
Okay, so the tuition
And
fee
my
also varies from in the branch in which you are doing the master's, right?
it's going to depend on your branch as well as the university.
Okay.
So, but yeah, as in it's gonna unless you have some funding from the university, scholarship or something, it's gonna cost you some decent amount of money. So I would say have your research on the university beforehand before applying them, because once you got an admit, and if you got only one admit, you don't have an option.
Correct.
Even if the fees is high, you have to go with that. So
Okay.
I would say
Okay, got
look
it.
into that aspect as well.
So suppose like if someone got an admit from one of the universities, but the price of the university fee is very high, and even the cost of living in that state is also very high. So like how do I earn if I want to compensate some of the money over there and do some part-time jobs? Like what are the ways in which I can earn while studying?
There are ways in which university tries to give you some opportunity for you to fund yourself, fund your
Okay.
education. So you can either work as an assistant under a professor, either a teaching assistant or a research assistant, or you can do part-time jobs in a university, maybe like a librarian or in a food court or in a warehouse. So if you are doing as an assistant under a professor, the pay is going to be high
Mm-hmm.
because you'll be working under him on the courses he's teaching or in a project he's working on. But if you're doing a part time, the pay is going to be relatively less than assistant. So if you want to do an assistant, you need to apply beforehand, a lot before people start applying for those, because it's definitely going to be first come first serve.
Okay.
Because if there's going to be like what 3 or 4 assistant positions available under a professor, so and people are going to come in a huge scale to universities. So if a professor found someone good enough, that position is going to be filled. They're not going to wait until they get all the applications for that assistant position.
Okay.
So you need to apply. You need to have your applications and everything, planned out well.
So once you have selected the universities in which you are going, so you have to take some initiative by mailing the professor that I want to work under you,
Yeah,
so that someone else don't
yeah,
come before you, right? So it's FCFS
yeah.
based. Yeah. Okay. And the
So
part-time
almost
jobs.
all these.
Mhm.
Sorry.
And the part-time jobs,
So
like it is easy to get, or like is there competition in even those as well?
no, part times are usually easy because they're going to be like a lot of opportunities for you. They're going to be a lot of food courts,
Okay.
libraries, gym,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe warehouses. Or you
Okay.
can also try to work in a different department as well, not in the department that you're working in. You
Okay.
can work as a grader in different departments where you just need to help them grade the assignments and the exams that other students write.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways for you to, explore to fund yourself.
Okay.
And yeah, so almost all these professors have a website on their name in the university's portal. So they list their projects and the work they are doing currently. So if you decided your university, you can actually go through all of these projects that the professors are working on. And if you're really interested in one project and you have some experience or something, and if you are sure that you can help them and you learn yourself, you can go ahead and mail them saying, "This is my profile, this is my resume. Please have a look at it. I really want to work with you on this project and learn." And then maybe have a conversation started on that aspect.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Okay, so coming to the last question, Vamsi, like, what is the reason, like, someone pursue master, like, to get a better job, right? So, like, what is the usual procedure of getting internships and placements over there? Like in India, we have, like, if someone is doing a BTech degree, right? So you get internship after the third year and placements after the completion of the third
The
year.
final year.
Yeah. So like
Correct.
how is it there? Like in those span of 2 years, like when does the internship starts and how does the companies come to the universities?
So there are actually 2 ways in which you can work with the company while you're doing your masters. One is as a summer intern in your summer. The other is as a co-op student, where you can actually do an internship at the same time do your course as well. And sometimes your internship counts as a credit, course credit.
Okay.
So you depends on the university. In my university, for me to do a co-op, I need to finish almost 30 credits in my master's degree. I can't do a co-op directly, but there are universities where you can do a co-op while doing your courses as well.
Okay.
And and the way you can apply for an internship is similar to India. You do have career fairs here,
Okay.
but in India we have companies coming to university. They have us write assessments and have the interviews right then and there, and then we get a job. The procedure is sorted out over there, but here it's not like that.
Okay.
The companies do come there, but it's just to have a conversation with you. You'll just get to know the company and the people and the projects that they're working on,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to apply anything over there. You're not going to get considered, or you're not going to have an extra edge over the people. It's just that you get to know different companies that you might have not heard before,
Okay.
and then you can hand over your resumes for sure. And if the person who has come on behalf of the company likes it, he might mark it as interested profile or something. And when you actually apply, they'll have their records in their system, in their portal, saying, okay, I have seen this guy in this career fair, and this is his profile. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Okay, so like you mean when you said actually apply, you mean like off campus, or there is some involvement of the university as well in that process?
So in some cases, the companies have a separate link for university students to apply,
Okay.
just to have a separate section for university students to apply. It's just that you apply in a different manner, but the interview process is not going to change. You're going to have the same number of interview rounds, the same type of assessment like every other student is going to have in other universities. It's just that all the students from your university are going to apply together, or maybe as into this one particular category.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so
Okay,
in a
so and the
way,
same goes for placements as well, like, right?
yeah, so depends on what you're currently studying. If you are in your second semester, you're going to apply for your internship.
Correct.
If you are in your final semester, you're going to apply for full time, usually. But there are people who apply for a full time during a second semester as well.
Oh.
But usually, companies, when they come to the university, they're looking for people who can join right away, or maybe in a couple of months.
Okay.
So if you're in your second semester, and you apply for full time, you're gonna have to wait a year at least, or
Yeah.
maybe 6 months at least to complete your master's. Without a degree, you're not going to join the company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a catch again. You need to work that out with the company, saying that even though you get a job, you must be like, yeah, I have this time left over in my university and something. So yeah, based on what you're studying currently, you apply for either internship or full time
Okay.
when the company has come to the career fair.
Okay, got it. All right, I guess these were some of the questions, Vamshi. And do you have any suggestions for the students that are thinking of pursuing masters? Because for the last couple of years, very less number of students have applied for the master. So, is there any suggestion or any point that we have missed discussing, right? So, that anything you want to mention over here?
Things have changed a lot. The dynamics of masters, the application process changed a lot because of COVID.
Yeah.
So lot of universities have waived off GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. So
Okay.
I would say check that first and then give the exams, because there's no point in putting in effort, money, and time if the university is not looking forward to these scores. So I would say first go through their website, check if they have a waiver or not, and then these exams. And then another thing I would emphasize more on is on the SOP,
Mm-hmm.
the statement of purpose.
Yeah.
So that is one piece of document which is really important when you apply, because that is where you actually sell yourself.
Correct.
Everything else is just courses. Everything else is just numbers. LORs are important, but I would say that SOP is relatively like hugely important for you.
That's
LOR is
where you are
basically
describing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to you have to invest a lot of time in SOP, because the recruiter, usually the university person who is going to check your application, is going to spend more, maybe like a couple of minutes on your SOP.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be brief,
Yeah.
concise, and then to the point.
Yeah.
As in, like it has to be like a story. As in, each paragraph has to be cohesive to the one after that and before that paragraph. It has to flow naturally, because if you follow templates and if you have someone write SOP for you, they're going to figure it out, and they'll be like, okay, this person has not even put in effort to sell himself in this document. Why should I even give him an admit?
Agreed. Yeah.
They're going to look it for this couple of minutes, and they might have seen like thousands of SOPs already. So they know, they can easily figure out the pattern, the templated SOP that you have, if you have written. So I would say write on your own, have your friends proofread it, invest some time onto it, and do some research on the university and see where your profile and your individual interests are aligning with the university's interests.
Okay.
And try to include that in the SOP.
Okay. And one
that
more
case-
point that I guess I had missed, and I have heard that the university starts shortlisting candidates as soon as the people, start applying to them. It's not like there is a deadline over there, and they will start shortlisting based on like these many people have applied to us, and these are the number of students we are going to shortlist. So as soon as they start receiving application, they start shortlisting candidates, right? So if you have written the SOPs for a particular university, then you just basically apply to that, right? You don't have to wait for, you don't have to unnecessarily delay that process, right?
So the universities give out admits in two ways. One is a rolling admit kind of a thing.
Okay.
The other one is an admit when you get all the applications. So rolling admit is where universities maybe consider one batch of applications at once, and then either approve the application or maybe reject the application, right? In that particular batch. That is rolling admit. The other case is where the university waits till it gets all the applications. Then it goes through each application and then gives out the result saying, okay, you have been admitted to the university.
Okay.
So if you applied something for some university which considers rolling admit, you're gonna get the result quickly. Based on that, you can start your application. You can application for the loan, for the visa, and everything.
So even if your profile is not that great, so it may be the case that you will get selected.
Exactly. Right? So the earlier you apply, the better it is, because the university will not be having, the university person who is going to check the application wouldn't have seen a lot of applications if you apply early. So you're going to have a better chance of getting an admit into that university. So yeah, even these factors, play a major role in, if you are smart, you can consider these universities which give out rolling admits and apply as soon as possible. There are also universities which have a priority deadline. So if you apply before this deadline, you will be considered for scholarships as well, for funding.
Okay.
So you can actually see what are these deadlines, priority deadlines for each university, and then apply based on that.
Okay, so overall you have to be a bit proactive in this whole process.
Yeah, you're proactive. You have to do a lot of research because there are thousands of universities in the United States, and depends based on your profile, you're gonna get hundreds of universities, and then you're gonna see the dates. You have to actually maintain a file with the deadlines and everything. That's what I've done.
Okay.
So I have an Excel sheet where the columns are the universities, the deadlines, what are the fees, and what is my chance of getting into it. I mean, which category does it come into? Easy, moderate, ambitious.
Okay.
And what is the priority deadline for that university? So it's you have to maintain a list so that you can actually get back and constantly check. There are some cases where university needs you to submit more documents, and they need you to do it before this deadline. So unless you constantly check your mails and these application portals, you wouldn't know. So if you maintain a list, you can maybe once in 2 days or once in a day, just just see the application status, just see the portal, what is the status that is reflected over there, and then work accordingly.
Okay, all right, got it, Vamshi. I guess these were the questions that that required clarifications, and I guess like you have really explained, really nice. And so if people have any questions, I will just add your LinkedIn profile in the description, and they have any queries, they can ping you, I suppose. Yeah.
Definitely, I'd be more than happy to help you guys because I've done this for 2 years actually. My plan was to go in 2020.
Yeah.
COVID happened and I had to defer my admits. I applied again in 2021. I got new admits. I had to go through the visa loan again. So I've gone through this process for a really long time. So whatever questions you have, I can help you. And if I'm not aware of that, I'll forward you to the concerned person if at all I can.
Sure, Vamshi.
Yeah,
sure.
You guys can do it.
Thanks a lot, Vamshi. Yeah. Let's wrap it up this then. Yeah. Thanks, Vamshi.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.